Beneath the emerald canopy of Transylvania's misty mountains lies a forest so strange that it has been nicknamed the Bermuda Triangle of Romania. Named after a shepherd who went missing amongst the twisted trees hundreds of years ago, the Hoia Baciu woods are rumored to swallow all those who dare enter, returning them as shadows of their former selves, if at all. Stepping foot over the boundary of this haunted tree line is not without serious risk. Cameras malfunction, compasses spin, time slips by more quickly, and a chorus of strange lights, spirits, and entities watch your every move. Tonight, we'll wander past the last filtered beams of daylight and venture deep into the small patch of earth that has terrified scientists, mystics, and locals alike, on a quest to find out just what makes the Hoia Baciu Forest one of the most haunted places on Earth.
Welcome back to Let's Get Haunted
with your host,
Nat Strawn
and Allie. Welcome back, Haunties, to episode 241 of Let's Get Haunted. We are your hosts, Allie and Nat, and we're here to get you good and haunted before the day is done. But before we can get into this week's very spooky story, I have to ask, as always, Nat, can you explain to anyone who might be new to the show and listening for the very first time what they can expect from us?
Well, the truth is, Allie, you never know what you can expect from us. Actually, that's not true. You know what you can expect from Allie. There's going to be a well-researched story. It's going to be divided up into chapters. There's going to be theories at the end. Now, our show works like this. We are two people, and one of us will research a story one week and tell it to the other one, and the other person doesn't know what they're going to say. So I just heard Allie record that hook about Hotel Transylvania or something, and I'm pretty stoked on that because I love Hotel Transylvania. I watch it all the time. I have kids, and we're obsessed. Now, my episodes, I do my best, but they definitely have a different feel. So it's like this. The best dessert is like something warm and gooey with something cold on top, you know? And it's like, if it was just a warm cookie or just a warm banana, it wouldn't be as good as like the banana with the cold ice cream on top. Actually, you know what I just thought of? Banana split is a fucking weird dessert. Is that all it is? It's a warm banana with ice cream on it?
Worse, it's a cold banana with cold ice cream on it. I hate banana splits, and I could go off on this for about 15 minutes. But I refuse. But you know what? I will. Because as a child, banana splits were always drawn so beautifully in illustrated children's books. And I was like, I want to try a banana split, Mom. And then one day she took me to the ice cream parlor and I got a banana split. And I was like, this sucks. Because the banana is literally just a banana. And it's the worst part of the entire dessert. And I actually like bananas, but it's just not what I was expecting. Anyway, continue.
The banana gets upstaged by the ice cream for sure in that dessert, but I know what you mean. Look, the point is that we're making here is that you might think you don't like one of us, but you're actually wrong because together we are better. And we actually used a bad analogy there where we both were like, you know what? The banana split actually does not need a banana to be good dessert. You know what? I should never describe what our show is about. I'm not good at this.
As Nat so beautifully described, we are two people, and every single week we switch off telling each other a spooky story from around the world. The other person who is just listening to the story has no clue what the person that researched the story is going to be talking about. And that's actually a really great idea, because many of you, while you're listening to the story, might be like, wait, I didn't understand that thing. I have no clue what you're talking about. Expand on that. And that's what the person who's going into the episode cold does. That person, their sole job is to break up the monotony of the narrative story and ask the questions, the deep questions that all of us really need answers to. Today, I've got a deep cut for you, Nat, and I'm very interested to see what your thoughts are. Are you ready to just get into this?
I'm so excited. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Let's go.
I'm one of those people who took soft skin and strong hair for granted in my youth. I had to start from scratch when figuring out what beauty products are worth the price tag. That's why I'm so pumped to be talking to you about BLISSY today, because not only are we sponsored by them, but I also use their products. I wish I knew this sooner, but satin is not the same thing as silk. Satin is so bad for you. But BLISSY Silk is an incredible game changer. I have 3 BLISSY Silk pillowcases at home, and not only are they pretty and soft, but they also help keep my skin and hair looking bouncy and shiny. I had no idea that a pillowcase could have anti-aging properties, but BLISSY Silk pillowcases reduce fine lines and wrinkles over time, eliminates frizz, preserves hairstyles, and protects color-treated hair with ease. They're dermatologist tested and recommended, clinically proven to not clog pores, they're antibacterial and hypoallergenic, and so much more. With over 3 million sold and over 99 colors to choose from, getting a BLISSY is a no-brainer. And because you're a listener, BLISSY is offering 60 nights risk-free plus an additional 30% off when you shop at blissy.com/LGHpod. That's BLISSY.com/LGHPOD. And use code LGHPOD to get an additional 30% off. Your skin and hair will thank you. And now back to your regularly scheduled haunting. Buckle the fuck up and hop into part 1, origins. Deep within Eastern Europe lies Romania, a country whose rolling hills, medieval towns, and mist-covered mountains appear to be conjured straight from the pages of an ancient fairy tale. Split by the Carpathian Mountains and kissed by the Black Sea, it's a land where ancient Dacian ruins share space with Gothic castles and Orthodox monasteries, and where superstition still lingers in the crisp autumn air of the countryside. Romania's landscapes are stitched together not just by spruce-filled forests, glacial lakes, and winding rivers, but also by a colorful tapestry of woven words, stories whispered for centuries about spirits, creatures, and unseen forces that blur the line between the worlds of the living and the dead. At the heart of Romania is Transylvania, the country's most famous historic region. Forever synonymous with legends of vampires, werewolves, and ghosts, its dark forests and abandoned villages evoke a feeling of stepping into the past, where candlelight flickers against centuries-old stone. Part of what makes Transylvania so distinct from the rest of Romania is the way that the Carpathian Mountains cradle it in a large semicircle, forming a natural wall that cuts off much of the Transylvanian plateau from the rest of the country. These winding mountainous paths snake through nearly 900 kilometers of craggy peaks and foggy forests. It is here, among these ancient woods, that the mundane gives way to the mystical. Today, we will be focusing on what is arguably the most haunted of all the Romanian landmarks, a small but notorious patch of earth often referred to as the Bermuda Triangle of Transylvania, the Hoia Baciu Forest. Beneath its twisted trees, time seems to ripple strangely, and those who dare enter sometimes emerge changed, shaken, sick, and claiming to have lost hours to the forest's bubble of silence. Legends tell of missing shepherds, ghostly faces, and glowing orbs in a barren clearing where no grass dares to grow. It is said that if Romania is the heart of Europe, then Transylvania is the pulse. And the Hoia Baciu is where the pulse skips a beat. But before we go into the individual legends associated with the forest, we're going to set the scene with some maps and photos. Nat, are you ready?
Oh, you know how much I love maps.
I'm the map, I'm the map.
That's one thing people say about Nat is they're like, she cannot get enough maps, graphs, data. It's just helps paint the picture for me. So thank you so much for giving me
You're welcome.
a map.
You are so welcome. Don't even worry about it. Yeah, as Nat said at the beginning, Our brains work differently. And for me, I literally could not go into any of the legends until I understood where this forest was on a map. I don't know why. That's how my brain works. Many people might call that boring, because why not just skip into the stuff that actually matters? But on the off chance you're one of like the 3 people with this illness that needs to see what they're looking at on a map.
Romania is actually in the center of this map. That might just be the way that this is cropped, you know, because actually, like, I feel like you could center on anything. But on this particular map, it is in the center. It is next to Hungary. Slovakia is above Hungary. Ukraine, Moldova, Bulgaria, Serbia, and the Black Sea. Sounds kind of ominous. It's kind of scary. Is it actually black, or is it like, you know, like, oh, like a black hole sea?
There is no time to explain or research the Black Sea, because it really does not make a big appearance in this week's episode. And you're about to see why. Because if you click on the next map that says Romania regions, you're going to see that while the Black Sea does just kiss up against Romania, Transylvania, which is the historic region where today's story takes place, does not border the Black Sea at all, if you can describe it to everyone.
I'm looking at a map that's like got a bunch of different shapes on it, and they're all different colors. And in the middle is Transylvania, and the ones that are touching it is Bukovina, Moldova, Wallachia, Oltenia, Banat, Crisana, Maramuresh. I think that's Italian. I actually don't know what people from Romania sound like, but hey, could it be kind of Italian because of the ancient Roman Empire?
So they speak Romanian, but you're right, there are definitely some Latin roots with a lot of their words, because as I was looking at some of the headlines that I was then just Google translating, I was like, oh, a lot of this actually makes sense. Like, you can kind of suss out what it's saying. So basically, all I really want to get across to our audio-only listeners who are not looking at these maps, which, by the way, if you would like to, you can head over to @Let'sGetHaunted on Instagram, and we post a corresponding photo dump for every single episode that we do. That way you can flip through these images in real time with us, or if you're watching the video version on YouTube or Spotify, you can see exactly what I'm showing right now. But for our audio-only listeners, what I'm really trying to get across is that this story today is kind of at the center of the center of the center. So we've got Eastern Europe, which is made up of a lot of countries. Romania, you could say, is sort of at the center of Eastern Europe. It's sort of at the heart. And then if you zoom in on Romania, you'll see that Transylvania is at the center of Romania. And then if you zoom in even more, we're talking about Cluj County today, which is, I would say, sort of at the center of Transylvania. So is that haunted? I don't know. Seems like it, because we're zooming all the way in to 3 concentric rings that just get smaller and smaller until you arrive at the Hoia Baciu Forest. Okay. So Nat, I then have here a little thing where I ask you, do you know much about Romania? What do you know? You said something earlier. You said Transylvania, Hotel Transylvania. So you have heard of this area before.
Yeah, Hotel Transylvania is like probably my top 5 movie right now that I just watch a lot. You know, when you have kids, you kind of like watch the same thing over and over and over and over again. It's like every morning before school, like, let's watch Hotel Transylvania. And I feel like I have almost every line of that movie just like seared into my brain. I love that movie a lot, yeah. But it's about a hotel in the center of Transylvania where a bunch of monsters live. And Transylvania too, I feel like it has a rap for like having strange people there, like their Rocky Horror Picture Show. I mean, nowadays they'd probably be like, they're not strange, those are just people. But the whole premise of the movie back when it came out was that like there are people living in a castle that are different from everyone around them, and there's like make a musical about it, you know? Yeah, so I feel like Transylvania kind of has a reputation, and isn't that where Dracula's from? It has like a reputation for having monsters or like things that could not survive outside of Transylvania living there.
Transylvania definitely has a super rich folklore, and some of that folklore that we're familiar with, like in Western society, maybe is outdated or stereotypical, but a lot of the legends, like, they're based on actual legends that the people in Romania came up with. And so if you wanted to be a skeptic, you could be like, okay, well, the Transylvanian plateau, like I said, is sort of cut off from the rest of the world because of the way this mountain range kind of encircles it. So it was really hard to reach. And so a lot of the images that maybe our audience is even thinking of right now when they think of Transylvania is like these crazy, craggy mountain peaks that are really hard to reach. And there's this beautiful castle with a tall tower, and who must live there because it's so difficult to reach. And we don't know because we've never been able to go there because of the way the mountain range is. Yeah. And so I think you could say, well, a lot of that is just based on the way that the topography of the region is. Like, a lot of the legends spring forth from that because we don't know what we don't know. And so if in the distance all you see is a house on top of a mountain and you literally can't reach it, then that's spooky, right? It's super spooky. Yeah. There's also
this
lots
is a
of
podcast
forests
that gets haunted. So come on, guys. Like, if you're listening to Let's Get Haunted, we're not going to be like, well, actually, all of this is fake, and it's probably just because it's a difficult to reach area. So if that's like what you're expecting, then you might as well just log off because, like, you're not going to like this podcast.
But I actually think that still is a point towards hauntings, because why would you choose to live in a super hard to reach area unless you're a little bit haunted, you know? There's tons of this dark, lush forest that go up into the mountains, and it is very beautiful, and it's easy to see when you look at pictures of Transylvania, which I'll scroll through some right now for everyone watching the video version. It's easy to see how it got some of this folklore. It's very beautiful. I would love to visit. But long before castles and whispers of vampires, Romania was the homeland of the Dacians, an ancient people who carved sanctuaries into the Carpathian Mountains and worshipped a wolf dragon god named Zalmoxis. They were fierce, spiritual, and obsessed with the afterlife, believing death was only a passage into immortality. Their mountain citadels were centers of both religion and astronomy, with stone calendars aligning to the heavens. In the year 106 AD, the Roman Empire under Emperor Trajan invaded Dacia, drawn by its gold and its strategic mountains. The Romans conquered, colonized, and fused their culture with the locals, leaving behind Latin language roots, roads, baths, and the seeds of the Romanian identity itself. But after the empire withdrew, the Carpathian lands became a crossroads, haunted not just by myths, but by centuries of invaders. For example, during the Middle Ages, waves of migratory tribes, from the Goths to the Huns to the Slavs to the Tatars to the Tatars, Tatars? T-A-T-A-R-S? How do you pronounce that? I wasn't even thinking about it when I wrote it. Tatars?
I don't know. It's probably like
Tatars?
The
Oh,
yeah.
Tatars. I bet you it's Tatars. And the Magyars swept through, each leaving linguistic and cultural fingerprints. Out of the shifting alliances and raids, 3 principalities began to take shape: Wallachia, Moldavia, and Transylvania. These lands became battlegrounds and buffer zones between Christian Europe and the Ottoman Empire. And it was here in 15th century Wallachia that a warlord named Vlad III Dracula, known to history as Vlad the Impaler, ruled with terrifying ferocity. He impaled his enemies on stakes to terrify invading Turks and domestic traders alike. His cruelty was legendary, but his defenders saw him as a national hero who fought to protect his land from Ottoman domination. Centuries later, English author Bram Stoker borrowed his name and Transylvanian setting for his 1897 Gothic novel Dracula, forever linking Romania to the vampire mythos, even though Stoker never actually visited the country he wrote about. Meanwhile, Transylvania, enclosed by the Carpathian Mountains, flourished as a province under Hungarian and then Habsburg rule, while Wallachia and Moldavia endured centuries of Ottoman influence. These regions became rich in superstition and folklore. Tales of restless undead spirits that returned to drain the life from the living spread through villages villages and graveyards. These vampire legends were not imported fiction. They were ancient peasant beliefs rooted in Dacian ideas about the soul's immortality and the effect of corruption on the soul. Villagers practiced midnight rituals, staking corpses suspected of rising again, while priests recited prayers against the dead who would not rest. The line between Christianity and pagan tradition blurred here, and it still lingers in Romanian folklore today. By the 19th century, nationalism surged through Europe and reached the Carpathians. The two principalities of Wallachia and Moldavia united in 1859, forming the Kingdom of Romania. Transylvania joined much later, after World War I in 1918, creating the modern Romanian state. Between the wars, Bucharest earned the nickname Little Paris for its architecture and elegance. But that glittering era dimmed when the country fell under fascist and then communist rule during the 20th century. The brutal regime of Nicolae Ceausescu turned Romania into a closed police state until his violent overthrow and execution during the 1989 revolution, one of the bloodiest uprisings in Eastern Europe's collapse of communism. In the years since, Romania has opened its borders, joined the European Union and NATO, and blended old myth with modern identity. Yet for all its progress, the country remains deeply connected to its legends. The Dacian gods hidden in the mountains, the haunted forests of Transylvania, and the shadow of Dracula that still stalks its castles by moonlight. Romania's history reads like an epic saga, a land of warriors and mystics, emperors and rebels, science and superstition, and a place where perhaps, some say, the veil is thinnest between the living and the dead. Isn't that kind of like a badass country history to have?
Yeah, I think that's really cool. And there was a bit in there that actually cleared up something for me. I didn't realize that we staked vampires down like through the heart so that they couldn't rise from the dead. Like, I thought you just had to stab their heart with a material that they were unable to process or something. Like, oh, they just really don't like wood, so if you like put wood in their heart, they die. Or like, they really don't like silver, so if you put a silver stake in their heart, they die. But yeah, I guess that does come from a tradition of like, oh, we don't want them to rise from the dead, so we're going to stake their body to the ground. And then it probably changed into, oh, you can shoot them with silver bullets or this or that, you know? It's interesting.
It is super interesting. And it also is interesting that Vlad the Impaler, who we've never done an episode on, and that's a different topic for a different time because it could be like 3 hours long, but it is interesting that he put his enemies' corpses on stakes to kind of scare away troops that were coming through his area, but then that turned into, oh, he must have been a vampire because look, he's putting people on stakes.
Yeah, I mean, it tracks kind of, though. Like, you can't get mad, like, if you're gonna do shit that's fucked up, like, you can't get mad at people for thinking that you're a monster. You know what I mean? Like, you totally can put people on fucking stakes so that they don't come to your country, fucking boil people, eat them, or whatever, so that people are afraid of you. But then don't get mad when people are like, yeah, that person's literally a monster. Because
I mean, and I think it behooved him for people to think he was a monster because I don't know about you, but if I see two villages and one has literal corpses of their enemies on stakes greeting me at the entrance and the other one just has a road, I'm going to go down the road. I'm not going to, I'm not going to fuck with whatever's going on at Corpse Central. Do you have trouble falling asleep at night? Trick question! I know you do because you listen to this show and we're all little nocturnal trash gremlins over here. Want to sleep better? Then you're in luck because I've got some info you won't want to fast forward through. All right, folks, some breaking news right off the top. Beam's cyber sale is now open for early access for our listeners, and it's their best offer of the year, but only for 48 hours. Right now, Haunties can get up to 50% off, and with our code HAUNTED, you can grab Dream for just $32.50. That breaks down to just $1.08 per night for the best sleep of your life. Go to shopbeam.com/haunted and use code HAUNTED so you don't miss out. This is the lowest price Dream has ever been sold anywhere and will likely sell out quickly. Dream is made with clean, science-backed ingredients like reishi, magnesium, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin, formulated to help you fall asleep fast, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. No grogginess or crash, just deep restorative sleep. And here's the best part. It actually tastes amazing. Nat's favorite flavor is sea salt caramel, but she pronounces it caramel, which just sounds wrong. It's caramel. Wait. Caramel. 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 Well, now I'm not sure which is right. How do you guys pronounce it? Please leave a comment below. Anyway, Nat says that it's smooth, delicious, and easy to make part of her nightly routine. But Dream hasn't just improved Nat's sleep, they've also improved over 18 million nights of sleep for people all across the country. So if you've been waiting for the right time to try Dream, this is it. Go to shopbeam.com/haunted. Use code HAUNTED and get up to 50% off during Beam's cyber sale. You can grab Dream for just $32.50. But here's the catch. Dream is only available at this price until it sells out. So seriously, think about it. How much would you pay for a truly great night of sleep? With Beam's cyber price, it's just $1.08 per night. So go to shopbeam.com/haunted right now. And now back to your regularly scheduled haunting. But that leads us into the Hoia Baciu specifically, with part 2, Ancient Legends. So first, let's talk about the most famous of all the legends associated with the Hoia Baciu Forest, that of the missing shepherd. Because today's episode is not going to be just about Transylvania. Like I said, we're zooming in. So we're zooming in past the exterior of Romania, past the exterior of Transylvania, and into Cluj County, and then specifically into this forest within Cluj County called the Hoia Baciu, which, by the way, some people say that this is the most haunted forest, not just in Romania, but in the entire world.
In the world?
In the world. I saw several sources that listed it as the most haunted in the entire world.
Wow, that is a tough competition there, because there's that one forest in Japan that allegedly makes you take your own life. There's the other forest in France where there's just like a sex freak wearing a gas mask and a cape walking around, you know? So this one, there's the other one, I can't remember where it is, where they would collect the mushrooms and like the Nazis burned it all to the ground. I don't remember where that was. But there's some haunted forests. Yeah, there's haunted forests out there. So to say that you are the most haunted forest is pretty intense.
It is pretty intense, and I'm very curious for all of our listeners out there, leave a comment letting me know whether or not you actually think this is the most haunted forest in the world, or if you think there's one that rivals it, leave it in the comments and maybe we'll do a future episode on it if we haven't already. But let's talk about the most famous of all the legends associated with the Hoia Baciu, that of the missing shepherd. While the exact date of this alleged event is unknown, sources typically say it happened, quote, hundreds of years ago, end quote, and is the supposed origin story of how the forest got its name. Like many legends, there seems to be no historical records to back up this event, but we have to start here since it's the story that locals most often repeat. On an autumn morning long ago, a lone shepherd drove a great flock toward the woods west of the city of Cluj. 200 sheep jostled tightly around him, bells around their necks clanging happily with each trot, and 3 herding dogs nipping politely at the perimeter to keep the group in line. The forest ahead of them was thick with trees of beech, oak, elm, ash, and lime, the lush green environment interrupted only by the brown trunks and branches that snaked up from the ground at odd angles. The shepherd had been around the perimeter of the woods before, but never had he ventured in so deeply. Nevertheless, he knew that somewhere within the Hoia Baciu was a large round meadow, and if he just looked hard enough, he thought it would be the perfect spot to rest and allow his sheep to graze. A breeze came cold upon the gorge, and the flock pressed tighter around the shepherd, but the man only clicked his tongue and walked on. By noon, the shepherd had been walking for several hours through the dark woods, and finally, in the distance, he could see the clearing, lit up brightly by the midday sun. Weary and ready to rest and eat his lunch, the shepherd stepped happily from the tree line onto the spongy meadow grass. However, once his feet stepped into the circular clearing, it was as if he had entered into some invisible bubble. He could no longer hear the clattering of bells, the soft baaing of the sheep, the panting of his dogs, or the twittering of the forest birds. As soon as the shepherd stepped into that bald ring of earth, he felt the world pitch underneath him, as if the hill itself had shifted and threatened to slide him off the entire planet. Back in the village of Baciu, not far from the forest, a woman stood uncertainly on her front porch, wringing her anxious hands. "Where is my husband?" she wondered. "He should be back with the sheep by now." She remained there on the porch all evening, straining her ears, listening for the sound of sheep bells clanging, an indication that her husband would soon be home. But the sound never came. Not that night, not the night after, not the night after that, and never again would she ever see her husband, the sheep, or their dogs. At dawn, men from the village of Baciu hiked into the forest, calling the shepherd's name, cupping their hands around their mouths and bellowing loudly. "Hoia! Hoia, where are you? Are you hurt? Can you hear us?" Since there were 200 sheep, it was quite easy to follow their tracks throughout the woods. But as soon as the men reached the clearing in the middle of the forest, the tracks stopped. They found no more footsteps, no more hoof prints, none at all leaving the meadow. No broken branches, no wool snagged on thorns, no evidence that the shepherd and his flock had ever left the area at all. It was as if the herd and its keeper had walked into the clearing and simply faded away from existence entirely. The men from the village kept looking for weeks, but eventually they had to return to their own lives, jobs, and families, confused about what could have possibly happened to their friend. Weeks turned to months and then years, and no sign of the shepherd or his animals ever surfaced. Some said that the forest must have swallowed him whole. Others said that the crooked trees pointed the way towards some supernatural portal through which the shepherd had fallen, remaining forever trapped there in some sort of purgatory. Whatever the truth, locals decided to take no chances. While many still hike through the woods for one reason or another, the barren circle of grass where the man had gone missing is to be avoided at all costs. And old-timers in the village still say today that that's where Hoia, or the man from Baciu, walked in one day and never returned. And the forest keeps both of those names to remember it. Hoia after the shepherd, and Baciu after the city he was from. What do you think of that legend?
That is so creepy. I feel really bad for that guy, but then I was like calmed down a little bit because I was like, at least he's with all those sheep, you know? Like if you were stuck in purgatory forever, but you were surrounded by like fluffy sheep with bells and were just like, "Ma," and just like cuddling against you, you'd be like, okay, like this is fine, actually. You know?
Like, okay, I do miss my wife, but at least I've got some cuddly sheep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your dogs are there and stuff. Yeah, it can't be that bad.
Right. Like, come on, guy. You think you're supernatural trapped in purgatory is worse than, like, some guys 9 to 5, you know, driving on the fucking 405, like, for 2.5 hours into pollution. Yeah. Feel like just take the W, dude. And they named a fucking forest after you. But in all seriousness, no, that's very scary. And a twisted tree. I don't know what it is about a twisted tree. Actually, maybe I do. This is crazy. I heard today, because we were there, I was making a candle altar thing over the dinner table because I had like a dinner party, and I like to like put like a little installation in the middle of the table, and there were some candles burning, and my 4-year-old was like touched it, and he was like, "Oh, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts." And we were like, "Yeah, you know, you can't touch candles because they get hot, etc., etc." And then he was like, "Yeah, if you touch fire, you're gonna turn into black salt." And we were like, "What?" Yeah, and he was like, "Yeah, you'll turn into black salt." And I was like, oh, that's weird. Maybe he thinks like, you know, you'll turn into ash or something. I don't know. But
Oh.
then my father-in-law was like, oh, it kind of sounds like the Bible story about Sodom and Gomorrah, you know, where the God was like mad at Sodom and Gomorrah for whatever. And he starts like raining down hellfire on them and destroying the city. And there's this guy and he has this wife and he's like, we gotta get the fuck out of here because God told me to leave and he's gonna spare our lives as long as we don't look back at the city while it's being destroyed. And the wife and the dude start walking out of there, but then the wife like can't handle it and turns back behind and looks at the city and turns into a pillar of salt. And which is very creepy on its own. But then my father-in-law was like, yeah, you know, they say that like some people like Carl Jung used to say that some people were born with like certain mythos like already in their head. And so that's why like all these different cultures have like a flood story or have like a symbol for, you know, the symbol for this is that or whatever. And it's across all these different cultures, like all these different myths kind of line up. We all have similar stories. And, you know, it's like innate. And so I wonder if like twisted trees is just something to all cultures everywhere. Like we just know there's something fucked up about it. Like, you know, I don't know.
Or a clearing in the middle of the deep, dark woods that's
true.
bright and sunny and nothing grows there and you step onto it and suddenly it's like a portal to another world. We've definitely heard that trope before in various episodes. I'm thinking specifically of our episode on Baba Yaga that we did a number of years ago where her Yizba, which is her chicken hut, is located in a clearing in the middle of the woods and you don't know where it's going to be because it's mystical and you just happen upon it and then it's too late. You're already in her domain. Or even in that Canadian story, the Falcon Lake incident that we covered a number of years ago, it's a UFO story. And in that one, the man who had the UFO encounter steps into a clearing and there he sees 2 UFOs and he gets horrible radiation burns. And nothing ever grows there. And is it because of the UFO radiation or is it because of something else? We don't know. But yeah, you're right. There's definitely certain myths that you can find in a lot of different cultures. And Romania is no different. But since you brought up the twisted trees, because it is such a cool visual, I would like you to look at the Dropbox again. And we're going to look at some of these trees.
This is 2 photos next to each other. One of the photos shows a giant forest, like densely packed, looks like, you know, pine trees. And in the middle is a circular shape where nothing is growing. Like it's completely cleared out. And it's like a meadow, but it is weird how it's literally a perfect circle and there's nothing growing in it. It's just grass. It looks like somebody came in and like uprooted all of the trees that would be there. And there's no stumps or anything like that. There's literally just nothing growing there, which is weird. And then next to it, you see these trees that have been bent. Like they literally, okay, they're probably growing like a foot up out of the ground and then they bend. They look like a sickle. Like it literally looks like a C and then they start growing straight up again. But I'm like, how did that happen? It must have been some sort of trauma. Like someone had to bend those, or there had to be some sort of phenomena that made those trees bend for several years because they were kind of growing one direction, and then whatever the pressure was came off and they started growing up straight. You know what it looks like? It looks like if you were to take a beach ball, like a giant beach ball, and literally like bend a tree around the ball so that it looks like a question mark or something upside down. I don't know. That's crazy to me.
It's
Wow.
really, really cool for sure. And not every single tree looks like that in the Hoia Baciu, but enough of them do that it's become a piece of the local folklore where people are like, the trees just grow strange here because there's some sort of energy or bad juju or a portal to another world. So if you click on the next 2 photos I want you to look at are the ones that are titled Hoia Baciu.
Yeah, and once again, I'm looking at a photo where it's of those trees, and yeah, you guys, it is so uncanny. If you want to see these photos, go to @Let'sGetHaunted on Instagram and check it out if you're not watching the video version of this episode. Yeah, that is so weird how they're bent. It looks like, I mean, I know you can do this. Like, people do it with bonsai trees. We do it with certain cedars. Like, we make junipers and stuff to look like little tiny trees by, like, bending them a frame around, like, a stake or something like that to kind of shape them. So I know that this can be done, but I don't know enough about trees or, like, this particular tree. Maybe you're going to tell me, oh, actually, this is a tree that only grows in this region and it bends like that for whatever reason. Okay, this next picture is of a dead tree, and I'm kind of having a hard time even knowing what I'm looking at here. It looks like a dead tree stump that's like there's like two dead tree stumps and they're kind of connected to each other, but they're still, it looks like someone chopped them down and then they started growing again. Like, it's like tree stumps with like vines and stuff growing out of them and branches, and but the roots are kind of like twisted together, and maybe they were really old trees that used to be like, maybe their root system used to be underground and now they're kind of like on the surface, and that's what we're looking at is like the roots of these trees. I don't know.
Yeah, it's really pretty. What makes it kind of romantic or mystical is that it almost looks like two trees are holding hands in the shape of a
Yeah.
heart. And then there's this beautiful moss growing over it. If you Google Hoia Baciu Forest, you'll see a lot of pictures because this location has gained such infamy, which we'll talk about in a little bit, for being so haunted that now you can go on tours through the forest. And so they literally have tour guides that will take you camping in the forest or hiking, day trip, night trip, and you walk through it. And so people take these very gorgeous photos of these interesting twisty trees and post them online. I mean, it's breathtaking, really. It honestly just reminded me of that one Charlie XCX song that's Everything is Romantic, and she's talking about like free bleeding in the rain, everything's romantic, twisty trees holding hands in the shape of a heart, everything is romantic. I don't know. It's a
Right.
very, very cool. But this story that I just told you of the lost shepherd is not the only legend of a missing person associated with the Hoia Baciu. Another oft repeated story is that of a young girl who supposedly walked into the woods sometime in the early 1900s. According to that tale, one day a young girl of about 5 years old was walking through the fields surrounding the forest, playing by herself when she heard a woman's voice calling out to her from within the Hoia Baciu. The voice was rising and falling in a lilting, sing-songy way, only broken up by infectious giggles that echoed against the trees. As if under a spell, the little girl entered the forest guided by the disembodied giggles and singing, and just like in the story of the shepherd, when the family realized the girl was missing, the entire town searched the area looking for her, but to no avail. However, unlike the story of the shepherd, the little girl eventually emerged from the woods 5 years after she had gone missing.
What?
Now 10 years old, the girl walked out of the woods wearing the exact same clothes as when she had gone missing and was completely unaware that any time had passed.
That's a
What do you think of
folklore,
that
or
story?
that's like a real story that happened?
It's folklore. You can't find anything to like back it up. There's no newspaper article about it, but it's one of the stories that locals say. I guess this story has been around for a really long time, possibly decades, possibly hundreds of years. The main date that I could find associated with this story was just said early 1900s. So I don't know what that means, but a lot of people talk about it and they say that this is something that really happened.
That points towards almost like the fairy type thing where, yeah, it's like a portal. You get lost in there, but time is sort of frozen. It's a place where time stops or is different than the time here on Earth. I don't know. Maybe it's like an interstellar. You just get like whopped into a different portal or whatever you want to call it, and you go to a place where time is slow.
Yeah, it's something is definitely going on here that makes it different from the norm. And eventually we're going to look at some scientific investigations and even TV shows that have come here, some pretty famous ones, to take electromagnetic readings or radiation readings and look at some compasses and see how they spin. And it is kind of an interesting location.
She
And
heard singing, though? That's what...
not necessarily singing. It was described as a lilting voice, which means rising and falling in a sing-songy type of way, but not necessarily singing. So a lot of people say that certain languages are lilting. A big example would be Irish, like the way Irish people speak, where it goes up and down, up and down, up and down, or Italians, where it goes up and down, like the inflection.
I was picturing like a beautiful, you know, in Hocus Pocus where she's like, "Come, little children, I'll take thee away."
It could have been singing. It did not specify that they were singing, but I would think maybe it was like,
"Hey,
little girl, come here. I'm here." You know what I mean? Like something like that, where it's rising and falling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very,
like how you
very
would try to
creepy,
get
though.
an animal to come to you. Interesting. I've never heard that lilting. Okay.
And some sources around the internet even say that, quote, thousands of people have gone missing. But the curious thing about the Hoia Baciu legends is that details and specifics are rarely, if ever, given. So it's hard to know if this is just part of the local folklore or if it's actually true. And people who believe that there are thousands of people that have gone missing say, well, you have to look at the history of Romania. Historically, there have been many different armies that have come through and colonized and then left. And so why would there be good records? I guess is what they're saying. You know, there's been fascist governments, there's been dictatorships, there's been the Romans come through. If you go back even further than that, there were the Dacians way back in ancient times. And so it's like there could be thousands of people that have gone missing in the Hoia Baciu, and we just don't have super great records because the modern era of actually keeping records is like beginning in 1989. Now, I did want to show you a video that somebody took and posted to YouTube of them walking through the Hoia Baciu to that semicircle, because as you noted, while we can't say 100% the story of the shepherd is for sure true or the story of the little girl is for sure true, it is interesting that you can travel to this alleged portal, this meadow, and see it in real life. So I'm going to text you the video now to watch.
I feel like meadows are so creepy because you feel like you're being watched when you're in there, you know? Like you go from the cover of forest to this open space where everything that's in the trees can see you, but you can't really see anything in the trees. So there's like this weird feeling of being watched. Or is it that meadows are haunted? So it's someone walking down a path. It's like a dirt path through a bunch of trees. And yeah, up ahead, you can see light from a clearing. And it literally looks like, you know, you're going from evening to the brightest part of the day because it is such dense forest. And then all of a sudden this clearing is just so bright and the grass is like almost reflecting the sun even more. Yeah, it does have a weird creepy feeling though. Like just watching it right now, like I feel like I'm being watched. It's kind of shot from a POV angle. So you feel like you're walking this path or whatever, and he's in the meadow, and I have a feeling of like whatever's on the other side of the meadow is watching him walk towards it.
And it's interesting you say that because there are tons of photos you can find around the internet of people who have hiked through this area, and they've said, I felt like someone was watching me. And one person even posted a photo they took to Reddit, and I'm going to send it to you now. And
God,
tell me if you see, well, tell me if you see a face.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. Okay, this is a grainy, like, iPhone photo. It looks like a still from a video or something of the clearing. And then someone, you can see kind of like where the path goes out of the clearing into the trees. And above it, there's a circle where someone says, like, oh, I see a face in the leaves. Now, I don't know if I'm seeing the... Oh, I do see it. Oh my God, I see it. Wow, that is so creepy. Okay, at first it kind of looked like the Grinch to me or something, but then I realized I was looking at the wrong spot, and I do see it. It kind of looks like, in the first Harry Potter where Voldemort is like on the back of some dude's head. You know what I'm talking about? He like
Yeah.
undoes his
Professor
hair wrap.
Quirrell.
Yes.
But to describe it to our audio only listeners, this was posted to r/chills narrator 6 years ago by XARGE360. And it's titled Zoomed In Version of the Face from Hoia Baciu Forest. And if you look at it, it has this circle around this area of branches and leaves where, yeah, it does look like there's kind of this angry face glaring down at the person that's taking the photo. I mean, it's looking right at you. And yeah, exactly. Yeah, it looks like it has a furrowed brow. Yeah, it does not look pleasant at all. And a lot of people say
The trees are
that
mad.
that the trees are like staring at them or glaring at them. And especially when you're in the middle of that clearing where all the trees are surrounding you, it feels like they're being ganged up on. And all the trees are like glaring at them as they're standing in the center of this clearing.
Now, I will say I will like believe in a lot of stuff, but for some reason, like photos like this where it's just like the shadows of leaves or whatever, I don't know. These ones don't quite get me, but what it does remind me of is we were in Allie and I went to New York and we went on a haunted ghost tour, and there was a guy that was fighting for his life giving us this tour. That's all I could say about it. He was just, the thing was supposed to be an hour. He was on like hour 2. People were like looking around bored, and he just didn't have that it factor. He was losing everybody. And at one point he was like showing us on an iPad, hey, if you look in this part of the window right here, like you can see a face. And he showed us on the iPad, and it was just like shadows from the leaves, and you could see in person, like, okay, there's a street lamp, and then there's like a tree, and so there's shadows from the leaves there. I couldn't see a face at all. I just saw shadows and leaves. And then someone else in our group who was like trying so hard to participate was like, look, I just took a picture right now, I see the face. And they like get out their phone and they're like showing everyone excitedly, and like everyone's like, perked up for a second. We're all like, oh yeah, something's happening, a new voice is talking, like there's something happening. And the fucking tour guide just goes over to him and he's like, those are just shadows from the leaves. And the guy's like, well, yeah, of course. And everyone just starts laughing so hard because we were all like, bro, he was trying to help you. He was like
Literally
participating. Yeah, he was trying to hype you up and like change the dynamic of this tour that is going terribly wrong, And it was just real uncomfortable. That's like, I have like a sixth sense when it comes to like disappointing people. Like I can feel when everyone is like not happy, like I can feel the crowd and it's like so uncomfortable. And that was just like a moment where it was just like the whole thing was so uncomfortable because I was like, oh my god, like a meteor needs to come down or something to like relieve everyone of this tour, because we all just felt like none of us wanted to be there anymore. You could feel it, like everyone was just like disappointed and wanted to leave, but we didn't want to like hurt the tour guide's feelings. And it just was real uncomfortable, guys.
I'm sure we'll talk about it on a future extended intro for Patreon, because it was definitely rife with personal hauntings. But yeah, so what you're describing, where shadows or leaves or whatever, it could be anything, if you stare at it long enough, you see a face in it. That's called pareidolia, I believe is how you pronounce it. And it's just our mind's way of trying to make sense of something unusual and see something familiar in it. But I still think it's creepy, because if you imagine walking alone in the forest and you're like, do I see a face? Do I not see a face? Like, it doesn't matter. No amount of logic is going to uncreep you, the creep.
That's
like
true.
Once you reach that level of creeped out. But now it's time to get into the modern folklore. Part 3, modern folklore. While ancient legends are some of the most fun to look into because they add a layer of spooky ancient history, Hoia Baciu didn't earn its global reputation as one of the most haunted places on Earth until the 1960s, when a man named Emil Bernau came into the picture. On August 18th, 1968, the quiet, Hoiana rotunda clearing in the Hoia Baciu Forest was alive only with late summer insects and the laughter of 4 friends enjoying a picnic on the edge of Cluj-Napoca. Among them was a man named Emil Bernau, a forestry technician and army veteran known for his discipline and practical nature. Around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, his girlfriend Maria looked up at the sky and froze. Above the treetops over the clearing hovered a metallic object, perfectly silent, gleaming as if it were catching and throwing the sunshine itself. At first, Bernau assumed it must be some kind of weather balloon, but the craft's shape was unmistakably disc-like, smooth, symmetrical, and rotating slowly on its axis. He reached for his 35mm camera and fired off 4 exposures in quick succession. As he later recalled, the object suddenly tilted, pulsed with light, and shot upward at an impossible angle before vanishing beyond the forest canopy in less than 5 seconds. When Bernau developed his film a few days later, the negatives showed a clear, saucer-shaped silhouette, the underside shadowed, the rim sharply defined against a pale August sky. The sequence of 4 images captured the object's progression as it appeared to bank and accelerate. The pictures quickly circulated throughout Cluj's small network of photographers and were eventually published in a local newspaper where they caused a sensation. And this story has another layer to it because in the US, we're familiar with UFO sightings and ufology and taking photos of UFOs. And yeah, you might get ridiculed, but you're not going to get thrown in jail or anything.
Yeah.
But at this time in Romania's history, this guy went out on a limb publicizing this event because this was under the communist government. And under the communist regime of the time, discussing quote unquote flying saucers was specifically treated as pseudoscience bordering on subversion. So if you talked about aliens or UFOs at all during this time, it was thought that you were trying to subvert the power of the dictator who was in power. And so because he came forward with this story, Bernau was interrogated by authorities, accused of fabricating the images, and eventually dismissed from his forestry job for, quote, spreading irrational ideas, end quote. Despite official ridicule, ufologists across Europe obtained copies of the prints and analyzed them, and none could prove that they had been manipulated using 1960s darkroom methods. To this day, Bernau's photographs remain some of the clearest images ever taken of an alleged UFO in Eastern Europe, and they transformed the quiet Hoia Baciu Forest into one of the world's most enduring paranormal enigmas. So I'm going to send you these photos.
I could see where you're going. Like, the argument that skeptics make is when people become famous for like their UFO story, or they're in a tabloid, or they sell a book or something about their experience, they could be considered having some sort of gain or profit from sharing that experience. But in this man's situation, he was like ostracized because nobody else wanted to be associated with him, because then they might become interrogated, they might get thrown in jail for subversion or whatever. So yeah, that's crazy. I have a friend here, and she's Russian, and she's Russian Orthodox, or her family was like Russian Orthodox. And I had heard that term before, but I thought it was just like another word for like Catholic. Like, I thought it was like a Russian version of Catholicism, but she was telling me like, no, it's totally different. And like, you have to wear like a, I don't know what it is, like a scarf over your hair, and, you know, you can't go in the church if you're like menstruating and all this stuff. And she was like, eventually left because she didn't want to do it. But she was like, you know, it was a really big deal, like having religion to my parents, because they were from a country where you weren't allowed to have religion. They like grew up under a government that didn't allow religion. It was such a novelty almost to them, or like a privilege, that they are just like super into this religion now. And I don't know why. Like, I knew you couldn't have religion under communist government, but I never really like thought what that looks like. Yes, to like, it would seem like a novelty, you know, afterwards, like to be free to practice some sort of religion or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. It's just crazy to me, like thinking about different governments and the different times that people live in and stuff, you know. It's very haunted.
Yeah, definitely haunted to think that you could come forward and be like, I took a picture of a UFO, and all of a sudden the police are interrogating you and you lose your job. And
This is crazy. I mean, this literally looks like a UFO. Yeah, they're black and white pictures, and it's 35 millimeters. So yeah, it would be difficult to get this. I talk about this often, but for people who don't know, in college, I took a 35 millimeter photography black and white class, and I took all kinds of classes, guys. Very academic things. I was a theater major, so, you know, I took beach volleyball, I took fucking ballet, like, photography, okay? I don't know a lot, but what I do know is that taking photos on a 35 millimeter camera that's black and white like this is difficult. You have to have the exact perfect f-stop. Like, you have to know how much light to let into the camera in order to not have the image be overexposed or underexposed. And you have to know exactly the shutter speed. So, like, if an object is moving really fast, the shutter speed has to be faster. Or if it's moving slower, it needs to be slower. Like, you got to have some talent in order to get a photo of something that's moving like this on a 35 millimeter black and white camera. So, I mean, the fact that this is even coming up on camera and you can see what it is crazy, but it kind of looks like, to me, like a blood cell. Like when people draw like platelets or blood cells, they sort of look like a disc with like some sort of hollow in the middle of it or something. And yeah, this is crazy looking at it. Wow.
yeah, it is definitely a very good photo of a UFO as far as photos of UFOs go, because basically anytime you ever hear, oh, somebody got a picture of a UFO, and then you look at it, it's usually like a tiny, tiny dot in the sky, and you're like, well, I can't really tell what this is. But this looks like it's close enough to at least understand what the shape is. And it does, even though it's black and white, it does look metallic. I mean, it looks like it's reflecting the sun in some way.
Yeah.
So that happened in the 1960s, and that's what shot Hoia Baciu to this paranormal level of infamy, because as the story of, like I said, the best photo ever taken of a UFO in Eastern Europe at that time, as that spread to different countries, people got really interested in Hoia Baciu as a paranormal location. And there was a parapsychologist named Alexandre Sift, and he actually started his experiments in the 1950s at Hoia Baciu, but people didn't really realize what he was doing until the 1960s, when more people started to look into it, and he continued these experiments into the 1970s. So let me tell you about what he did. In the mid-1950s, Alexandru, or Alexandre, depending on what source you read, a biologist with a growing interest in the unexplained, began venturing into the heart of the Hoia Baciu Forest. Armed with a simple 35mm camera, a compass, and a homemade film trap, which is basically a fancy way of saying a camera that was set up to automatically take photographs when triggered, usually in wildlife photography or field research. So, like, if something walks by your camera, it's rigged to take a picture. He planned to capture whatever oddities the forest was quietly yielding. At first, his journey seemed routine, mapping tree growth anomalies, tracing faint animal paths, recording the forest's ambiguous hush. But by the early 1960s, Sift began to document phenomena he described as, quote, shadow presences, figures that appeared in his frames only to vanish upon closer inspection of the original site. One such image, taken on a humid autumn morning, shows the ghostly outline of what looks like a thin male figure standing between two twisted pine trunks. Its lower limbs blurry, upper torso semi-transparent, and partly transposed with the background. Sift noted in his journals that the figure had, quote, no reflection, no shadow, end quote, and that when he reached the spot in the forest, the ground was cold and unmarked. He published fragments of his findings in local journals, though much of his archive remained unpublished during his lifetime. Throughout the 1970s, SIFT increased his activity in the Hoia Baciu, utilizing infrared film, time-lapse cameras, and even rudimentary radiation detectors borrowed from a sympathetic university physics department. On one occasion, he set up a camera trap in the clearing known as Poiana Rotunda, the bald circle where nothing grows. When he returned a week later, he discovered a sequence of 6 exposures capturing a fleeting white globule of light that appeared near the tree line, hovering for roughly 1.2 seconds in the sequence of photos before vanishing, leaving the film's emulsion faintly fogged around its path. SIFT interpreted this and similar results as evidence of, quote, bioplasmatic aeriforms, a term that he coined to describe semi-material entities that exist between conventional matter and energy. He also recorded physiological effects. During his longest overnight session in the woods, he wrote that his compass spun unpredictably and his wristwatch stopped for 23 minutes. Despite efforts to share his findings with the scientific community, SIFT found little institutional support. The volatile climate of the Cold War-era Eastern Bloc regarded investigations of, quote, transphysical phenomena as fringe beliefs that subverted the regime in power. His colleague notes later claimed that many of his film negatives were lost or destroyed after his death in the early 1990s, though a few surviving images still circulate among paranormal and UFO research networks.
That sounds like Ghostbusters almost, you know? This guy is taking it to the next level with the research. Yeah, you know, I don't know how I feel about those kind of people. Like, I'm like, part of me is like, wow, that's so awesome. Like, you went through all this effort to take all these photos and all that. But then I'm like, part of me is like, you just took it too far. Like, I feel like if you would have just been like, wow, these are some photos of things that are just interesting, let's all talk about it. But instead you have to be like, this is transplasmatic injected, you know, and then like, then it's, now you're going to jail, you know, and now we can't talk about it. And so
very recently, NASA and some other organizations have released papers on the possibility of plasma life existing in our upper atmosphere. And I don't know, it's still in early stages of research, but apparently there are a lot of scientists that are now coming to understand that there are plasma balls and plasma matter that exists somewhere in our upper atmosphere, and that maybe that's the reason for some UFO sightings, but they don't know what it is.
Oh, no, 100%. Like, I think it's true. I absolutely believe this guy, and I think he was onto something. I'm just saying that, like, the skeptics are so strong that, like, you can't be too confident in anything. Otherwise, they just shut it down immediately. Like, you have to play dumb, too. You have to be like, oh my God, I was just, like, in this clearing jerking off, and then all of a sudden I looked at my film, and, like, what are these weird spots on there? Is that just jizz, or was that something else? Like, I need help. Please, I'm just a girl. Can someone help me? Like, then that way you don't get shut down by the government, you know?
Right. You can't come in too
let's see.
strong.
Wow. This is crazy. Okay, I was expecting like a tiny orb. Like I was expecting like, you know, a candle in the wind. This is like a fucking meteorite coming down to Earth, guys. This is, first of all, this photo is black and white, and it's a landscape photo taken of like very wide. Like you can probably see here, you know, 5 or 6 miles out. This is probably like a 10-mile square radius like shot. This is, you know, long. And then there's in right above the tree line, there is what looks like a giant glowing meteorite or something. It's very strange looking, and it's kind of hard. From this perspective, it almost looks like a mushroom cloud or something, you know, of like a bomb going off in the distance. And so that's why like I'm associating it with this must be really far away. But with this photo, it's difficult to tell. I mean, I guess this could be up really close and it could be smaller. Yeah, you guys check these photos out. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And his journals that describe his photos survived long after his death. But a lot of the photos, people say, were either destroyed by the regime when he came forward with some of these findings because they felt it was subversive and harmful to what they were trying to get across, which I don't fully understand. Like, if someone's actually crazy, just let them be crazy. Isn't that a saying that the easiest way to out a crazy person is to just let them talk? So I don't really understand the benefit of being like, you have to keep quiet or else people are gonna think the UFOs are real, like
Because
just
it was
let people
true.
talk. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
seems to be. So we don't know. There's a lot of other pictures that exist that people claim come from Hoia Baciu and possibly come from Alexandri or Alexandru, depending on how you want to pronounce his name. But we don't really know if these are real or if they're recreations. The only one we know for sure is the one I just sent you, but I'll go ahead and send you this other one that people often attribute to him.
Oh, wow. This is for sure UFOs. This is crazy looking, guys. This is another photo of like the tree line. And yeah, it looks like 3 spinning discs with like lights on the top. I mean, these look like just straight up UFOs.
There's one more, but this one to me looks too perfect. Like this looks, I don't know. We'll see what you think, but I'm going to send it to you right now.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you mean. This one, something about it seems like, okay, there's 3 lights up in the sky. There's, I guess 9 lights up at the sky, but they're in sets of 3 and they kind of look like little flying saucers. But something about them is just like, it doesn't look real in the sense that it doesn't have a hard edge to it. So the other ones kind of have like a hard edge and then the light sort of dissipates and the shadow, it has like a shadow, where this one doesn't have really that much shadow to it. But I suppose you could get a photo like this if it was like a cloudy evening or something and light wasn't really, like there was no moon and there wasn't really anything to cast shadows because there was nothing really reflecting. But I see what you mean. Like this photo seems, I don't know, less real. But it's also just like anytime you see a fucking spaceship, it looks not real. Because it's like
That's true.
It's like seeing a sheet with eyes in it. It's like that is a fake ghost,
Right, but what if that's what they really look like? Yeah, so it is hard to
Yeah.
say. I don't know. To me, I'm like, this looks like a recreation, but also, yeah, I don't know what a real UFO would look like hovering in front of my face. Maybe that's just what they look like. And there is a book for those of you interested. There is a PDF available for free online. It's located on researchgate.net and it is called, the translation, because I'm not even going to try to pronounce it in Romanian. The translation is The Phenomena of the Hoia Baciu Forest by Adrian Patrut, and it's dedicated to Alexandru Sift. And that's where some of these photos that I can't tell if they're recreations or not come from. So if anyone is interested, you can definitely go check out that book. Now we fast forward to the 1990s. In the 1990s, a chemistry professor named Adrian Patrut, who actually is the author of the book that I just cited, from Babis Bolya University, decided to investigate the Hoia Baciu Forest for himself, using science instead of superstition. He wanted to test whether the rumors of strange lights, dizzy spells, and equipment malfunctions people talked about were actually linked to something measurable. To do this, he and a small group of students began setting up what he called a control station, which is basically a small baseline area just outside the forest that allowed them to compare normal readings to whatever happened inside the woods. They would start at the edge to record standard levels of magnetism, background radiation, and temperature, then move deeper into the forest, taking new readings along the way. They would end at the infamous bald circle, or the Poiana Rotunda, to see if those numbers changed. The team brought along handheld magnetic sensors, radiation detectors known as Geiger counters, compasses to check for any strange spinning anomalies, and cameras that could capture light outside of the visible range, using infrared cameras. Infrared light is invisible to the human eye but can show up as heat or energy on special film, so they speculated that infrared cameras might be able to see things even if their regular cameras couldn't. Sometimes they'd leave their cameras running overnight while logging readings every few minutes, watching for any sudden spikes or flickers. Over several seasons of investigation, Patrut's notebooks filled with reports of what he described as brief magnetic distortions, moments where compasses did indeed swing unexpectedly from side to side, and he also documented small jumps in background radiation, the kind that appeared for only a few seconds before disappearing. Occasionally, these spikes happened at the same time their cameras picked up odd streaks or floating balls of light. On infrared film, these glows appeared as pale or faint shapes, usually spherical, darting between the trees. Patrut began calling them aeroforms or bioforms, meaning transient possible living or energy-based shapes. He carefully logged every instance, noting the date, weather, and instrument readings. His conclusion was that Hoia Baciu wasn't just haunted by folklore and rumors. It was actually alive with measurable, unexplained phenomena that he could see and document on his instruments. His work culminated in the 1995 book Fenomenale della Paduru Hoia Baciu, where he published some of the photos. Misty white orbs hovering above the ground, glowing threads crossing the camera's view, and a cloudy figure standing just beyond the circle's rim.
You know, it kind of reminds me of, like, okay, my favorite type of animes are ones where it's about, like, the forest being alive. Like, Princess Mononoke is kind of like that. There's another one that Alyssa and I watched in college together, and it's called The Mushi She. It's about, like, the Mushi teacher, and it's kind of the same idea. Yeah, there's, like, white, like, little strings and stuff like that going through the forest. Like, the forest has a soul, and there's different, like, species of these mushi, like ghosts of the forest, if you want to call them. But yeah, they're like strange paranormal shapes. You guys got to watch that. Yeah, there's no time to explain. You have to watch.
It is a very good show.
It's very good. It's on YouTube. It's free. You can get it with dubs or no dubs. It's great. Watch it, and then you're gonna know.
But it's super cool that now we have 3 paranormal investigators, quote unquote, that are seeing similar things to each other. And the most interesting to me is always shadow people. I just think that is so cool. But they're seeing white shadow people, like made of mist, which is interesting because a lot of the folklore surrounding Transylvania is that it has these misty mountains, and oh, the mist is so, enigmatic. You can never understand the mist. It just comes and it's scary, and you're like, okay, cool. Mist is freaky. Fog is freaky because you can't see anything, and not being able to see where you're going or see what's in front of you is scary. But the fact that there was some white foggy mist that formed kind of the outline of people is so cool and creepy to me. I just love it so much.
Yeah, I'm imagining like the mist sees the film trap and it's like trying to understand what it is, and so it's like, let me pretend to be a person for a second so I can like spy on this thing, you know?
Oh, that's so good. Or okay, what if it's the people that have disappeared, the thousands of people that have disappeared into the forest, their like imprint is left, or they're looking through the veil at what's going on the other side, and they appear as this like foggy outline.
The sheep are there somewhere then.
Yeah. Maybe that's that giant ball of white light that I sent you. Maybe it's just sheep. Like,
oh my gosh, the whole flock?
Yeah, they're just like flying through the sky.
Wow.
All right, so now let's talk about some personal paranormal experiences from locals and tourists who have claimed to have seen auditory and visual anomalies within the forest. Some locals claim to have heard laughter or crying coming from the trees when no one was there. Others tell of sudden dizziness or nausea that lifts the moment they step back beyond the tree line. Nighttime visitors describe balls of greenish light drifting through the canopy, voices whispering their names, or invisible hands brushing across their shoulders. Photographers return with frames marred by translucent faces, limbs that weren't actually there, or blurs shaped like silhouettes standing behind them. A few tourists have reported losing track of hours, emerging at dusk, certain that they had only been inside the Hoia Baciu for a few minutes at most. The forest's acoustics are also said to play tricks. Snapping twigs echo like footsteps, and wind tunneling through its bent trunks produce an uncanny hum that sounds almost human. Some hikers have reported seeing disembodied glowing green or red eyes looking at them from the trees at night. Other accounts say that if you go in too deep into the woods, a mysterious black fog or sometimes a white mist seems to emanate from somewhere beyond the tree line, obscuring the hiking path, making it easy for people to get lost. There's also an article on Hoia Baciu that was published to The Independent by journalist Sophie Buchan, who traveled to the forest as part of a tour. According to her tour guide, a Romanian man named Alex, said, quote, "Once when I came here, I found 60 people from Bucharest trying to open a gate into another dimension," end quote. Sophie went on to write, quote, "It turns out Alex doesn't like sleeping in this forest. The first time he camped in the Hoia Baciu overnight, he tells me he and his friends kept being woken up by a very loud hoof noise, like a horse or a particularly large deer. Every time they would stick their head out from the tent to investigate, the noise would suddenly stop," end quote. Many online have speculated that this loud hoof noise could have been caused by either a goat man cryptid, similar to the Pope Lick monster in the United States, which we've covered in a past episode, or it could have been noise from a demon or the devil. When the journalist asked the tour guide for the creepiest thing that has ever happened to him on the tours, he responded, quote, "Well, there was a man who went crazy once, thinking he'd met a demon in the forest. He just got a massive tattoo of a demon on his chest to ward off the demons, but then he ended up seeing a demon. But the scariest thing happened to my colleague. He once did an extended night tour one-on-one with a very morbid man who just kept talking about his obsession with death, how he enjoyed being with people as they die, and how he enjoyed watching people die," end quote. And so I ask, were those guys just weirdos, or did the forest drive them insane?
What do you mean he enjoyed watching people die? Like, where? How do you do that legally?
Maybe he was a nurse? I don't know.
Oh my God, that would be the scariest nurse. Can you imagine, like, you're terrified, you go to the ER.
Oh my God.
I'm having stomach pain. Like, I don't know, is my fucking spleen gonna burst in my body? I have no idea. Like, you know, and they're like a normal nurse would be like, don't worry, you know, we're in good hands. We're gonna do some MRIs. Here, you comfy, you want some Jello, you know, do you want some water or whatever? But then this person instead just like sees you and is like, "Hi,
I heard your stomach hurts."
Yeah. Just, can I sit in the chair and watch you while you writhe in pain? And you're just like, get the fuck out of here. Are you my nurse? And they're like, yes, I'm your nurse. You know, that's so creepy. The guy got a tattoo to ward off demons, and then he saw a demon. I mean, that clearly, like, he's obsessed with demons, you know, but also...
Well, it's also funny because, like, he got a tattoo of a demon to ward off demons, but then saw a demon while he was on this tour.
Right. Yeah, he has high demon visibility.
Yeah, the demons are aware of his presence for sure. Fast forwarding to even more modern spooky stories of Hoia Baciu, I did find 2 brief 21st century news stories, but they're super scant on details. Here they are. First one. On February 23, 2015, around 3 p.m., fragments of human remains were discovered by a local man near the Hoia Baciu Forest edge, which prompted a criminal investigation by local police to establish the cause of death and identity of the person. Press noted advanced decomposition and items found nearby, including clothing and a rope, but follow-up outcomes were not reported on in any newspapers that I could find. The second incident comes from August 21st, 2024, when police reported a 44-year-old man was found hanged inside the Hoia Baciu Forest. Initial findings indicated suicide with no other visible injuries on the corpse, and multiple local news agencies reported the story initially, but no follow-up reports were ever made, at least none that I can find.
What do you mean there was a rope next to them? Like, did someone strangle them? That's weird.
Yeah, like were they tied up? I don't know. It was so badly decomposed that all they found were, quote, fragments of the corpse. So no one is really sure what happened to the body, how long it was there. The initial reports said that they could not determine gender or really any distinguishing characteristics. That's how decomposed it was. And so I don't know. I mean, it's possible they figured it out and just didn't publicize it, maybe out of like privacy concerns, but I literally could not find any follow-ups to either of those articles. But the hauntings don't stop there. Because several TV shows have also visited the forest. In 2009, the Sci-Fi Channel's show Destination Truth chartered a plane to survey Hoia Baciu from above. During the survey, the aircraft's roof suddenly tore off mid-flight while flying over the woods, forcing an emergency landing. The crew landed safely, but the plane was badly damaged, and the crew attributed this strange mishap to the supernatural forces found within the Hoia Baciu that were perhaps trying to force the crew deeper into the woods via the emergency landing.
Yeah,
Is
honestly,
that not like
that
the most
super
haunted
scary.
shit?
Yeah, just first of all, the last thing you want when you're in an aircraft is any part of the aircraft to come off.
For the roof to fly off, yeah.
Yeah, that's not a good sign. And that almost never happens. Like, I've never been in an aircraft that's lost the roof, so that seems like it is not normal. And for it to happen when you're going over a forest that is so infamous for being haunted and fucked up that you're literally filming a TV show about it called Destination Truth, and then the plane starts falling apart. Yeah, absolutely. I would be like, this is haunted and I quit.
Exactly. Yeah. Super, super haunted. In 2013, Ghost Adventures visited the forest, and they later did a brief Q&A about their experience filming there. And I sent you a YouTube video. The ending is really dumb. I don't understand the ending of the clip, but yeah, just go ahead and push play.
In the woods, I don't know what's going on, and I started breaking down. And you didn't see part of that clip.
Wow. So he was basically saying that, yeah, like the clearing the portal or whatever made him so uncomfortable that he started having a mental breakdown.
Exactly.
Now, that would be more haunted if it wasn't Zach Baggins, you know, if it was if it was literally any other person being like, yeah, and then I started having a mental breakdown, I would be like, okay, that place is, you know, probably not going to go there because it's too powerful, but
yeah,
Zach
but
Baggins
it's Zach Baggins.
appears to, he gets rocked by not much, in my opinion.
Yeah. Exactly. He like makes a noise himself and he's like, what was that? He like farts. He's like, it was a ghost. Okay, so I just sent you another video. This one's from 2024 when the Discovery Channel's paranormal show Expedition X ventured into the woods at night and filmed their experience.
Okay.
You feeling okay?
I'm scared but yeah, I don't feel sick or anything, if that's what you mean.
How are the EMF lights looking? Anything change of color?
No, nothing. They're all the same.
It's just crazy that half of our surveillance system is down right now.
I just heard something walk next to me in the circle.
Okay, that I did not hear. How close?
Like, right next to me. Camera's flashing big time.
I'm seeing that a lot of in and out light right now.
Oh my God, are you out here by the camera right in front of me?
No? What's
It
happening?
just moved. The camera that I'm staring at. Oh my God, it moved. It's moving.
What? What?
Phil, it's moving.
What do you mean it's...
Oh my God, it's moving. Is there anything out here with me right now?
Jess? Behind you, on the right, on the right, on the right. I'm seeing on camera, I'm seeing on camera.
Oh my God, Phil, there's somebody out here with me.
Okay, first of all, That was the only normal reaction someone should have to seeing a person fucking out in the woods. Hey, that video was weird. You guys, in case you didn't see it or you weren't paying attention or something, basically, like, there's a girl and she's out in the middle of the woods, no lights are on, and they have 4 cameras around her, and she's like in a little protective circle or whatever in the dark. And all of a sudden the cameras like aren't picking up a feed or something. There's some sort of weird like electromagnetic anomaly going on that's making the cameras like cut the feed or something. And then all of a sudden we can see on the camera that there is a figure in the woods, and it literally looks like a human figure. So maybe it was a ghost, maybe it was something in the woods that looks like a person, which is also scary. And then the girl was just like, ah! And like ran off, and then the thing ended. But finally, like, someone just react normal instead of being like, "Are you Strigoi?" They're just like, "Fuck this," and just get up and yell and leave. You know, that's what I would do. So
These are the, like, quote unquote modern professional investigations, but there's also tons of people that just go there and then capture weird things on film and share it to various social medias. So I've sent you a compilation of photos of like just like weird anomalies that people have found, if you want to describe some of them to the audience.
yeah, the first one is a bunch of trees and someone took a picture with flash, and yeah, it looks like there's a strange mist that's sort of like intertwined with one of the trees. It's weird, and it could almost be like a humanoid figure or something. That's strange. The second one is a guy just standing in the woods and with a flashlight, and it's creepy. I don't know what the anomaly is, but it does look scary. Yeah, the next one has like a red circle around something. I don't know what I'm looking at. Maybe it's like a cat. Maybe it's like some sort of animal or something walking. I don't know. That's weird. The next one is like a group photo of people, and there is like a white misty fog in the corner. It literally looks like a fog machine or something. The next one has glowing red eyes. That's so creepy looking. It almost looks like an alien. This one literally looks like Skinny Bob with glowing red eyes. That is scary. And then the next one is, this one looks like a Bigfoot or something. There's a tree, and then there's like, it looks like a Bigfoot standing behind the tree.
Yeah, it's freaky for sure. And while you were describing some of those videos, your microphone started getting a bunch of static. So hopefully it doesn't actually pick up on whatever the final version of this episode is. But if you guys just heard static, I don't know. It's the first time that's ever happened.
Oh, that is
Point
creepy.
towards ghosts. Point towards
Yeah.
it being real. Now there are also some symbols painted on trees in the Hoia Baciu, so I'm going to go ahead and send you a Reddit thread about it. I mean, it's a super short thread. Apparently, these symbols guide religious pilgrimages through the forest, but when I was trying to like independently verify this, I could not find any articles about there being an actual religious pilgrimage that cuts through here, but people see these symbols, and if you go to the comments, if you could read what that top comment says.
It says, Even Chant said, it marks the Marian Way, also known as Via Mariae. It is an advanced pilgrimage route network in Central Europe. The organization's aim is to raise awareness of the religious and cultural values of Central Europe and to build a safe pilgrimage network for pilgrims. The Way of Mary is ecumenical according to modern religious approach.
Yeah, so I don't know. There's also people constantly repost this photo of a sign that's kind of like stapled or nailed to one of the trees in the Hoia Baciu, and they're like, look, it says warning. That must mean this is super haunted. But I ran it through Google Translate because, you know, you can like take a picture and like upload it and it'll tell you what it says. And all it said was, wear eye protection on weekends because there's like a paintball club that meets in this area. So
Hey,
I
that's
don't
pretty
know.
haunted, though. Yeah.
Kind of haunted. And that brings us to part 4, the theories. And there's only 2. Theory number 1, is that it's haunted, and theory number 2 is that it's not. So, on the point towards the forest being haunted, people often say that the Hoia Baciu is haunted because it's layered with stories of violence, disappearances, and hidden history. One of the most persistent tales holds that long ago, peasants were ambushed and murdered in the forest. Some versions say that this occurred before the modern era. Others say that it happened during feudal conflicts, and their tortured souls now drift amongst the twisted trees. The idea of a, quote, clearing where nothing grows, or the Poiana Rotunda, deep in the woods, supports the image of a ground scarred by some ancient atrocity. Visitors often report a quote-unquote dead zone of trees where their phones don't work, compasses start spinning, their cameras malfunction, they have nausea, they have the feeling that they're being watched, and this combined with an alleged mass death and unexplained physical effects gives the forest a weight of dread, as though the land itself remembers, perhaps giving some credence to stone tape theory, which we've covered before in the past, which TLDR, for those of you who don't know, basically says that when something really bad or emotionally powerful or emotionally charged occurs in a natural setting, that energy can become etched on the stones, hence the name stone tape theory, or on trees or other natural landmarks, and play out on a loop till the end of time, sort of like a boomerang, a boomerang of the hauntings, if you will. At the same time, the forest harbors confirmed archaeological traces of ancient human activity, which adds a different kind of charge to the place. Near the edge of the forest, excavations uncovered Neolithic settlement houses and tombs that date back for thousands of years. The presence of burial grounds or old tombs suggests that people long ago inhabited and died in these woods, a kind of unbroken human past beneath the living trees. When you combine this real archaeological layer with the legends of murdered villagers and reports of modern visitors experiencing bizarre phenomena such as light orbs, laughter, and loss of time, it creates the perfect storm of folklore meeting physical memory. And to me, that's a point towards it being haunted, because the fact that people used to live here and now they don't, for whatever reason, to me just reads as haunted.
Yeah. No, I agree. If there's a place that has access to water and there's timber and the weather is moderate and it's a nice place to be around, the kind of place where you would go hiking as people do, today, and nobody wants to be there, or people were there and they left, that usually means that shit's fucking haunted for whatever reason. I mean, you can call it what you want. You can say, oh, it's a magnetic anomaly, or oh, it's got bad vibes, or, there's fucking strigoi in the woods. That shit's haunted. There is something that humans are good at, and that's surviving. And I think we have a lot of senses that we don't quite understand. We just get like gut feelings, or just know when something's dishonest. Like you can just tell when someone's lying to you, or like they're hiding something, or they're not being honest with themselves or with you. You get like a vibe from somebody. And I think it's the same way with a place. Like you can just feel when a place is being dishonest. Yeah.
Yeah. And as you were talking, I just realized I may not have done a good job explaining what the strigoi thing that girl was yelling about is. Strigoi is the mythical Romanian spirit. So it would be like, for us, it would just be like ghost. But they call it strigoi.
I know what it is from The Witcher. Yeah. The Witcher,
explain to people.
The show. Yeah, The Witcher, the show, is a show based on reality, apparently. And it's basically about this guy that goes and, like, hunts mythological things. He's kind of like a Van Helsing, like, he kills monsters. And he gets, like, he's like an independent contractor, I guess. Like, he gets, like, sent to places and has to, like, finish a job. And one of these places he gets sent to was, like, this weird castle, and there's this, like, witch thing there, this woman, and she's strigoi, and she's, like, a gross witch, and he tries to kill her, and spoiler alert, someone's fucking her. And it's weird. Yeah, it's weird.
Oh, wow. Okay. We love a good romance angle.
Yeah, it's a weird show, guys. It's a weird show. It's weird and it gets stuck on you. I guess they replaced the guy who was like the main character with Thor's brother, Liam Hemsworth.
Oh.
And I don't know how I feel about it. I haven't watched the new one with him in it yet, but I don't know. You guys weigh in the comments. Let us know. Is it worth it to watch it with Liam Hemsworth? Let us know.
That is interesting because, yeah, Liam Hemsworth to me has iPhone face or whatever they call it, where it's like you look like a modern person. So to see a modern person set in like a medieval setting would be kind of jarring and maybe take me out of it.
He looks like a frat boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's for sure a frat boy.
Let's do the quick boner killer theory before we talk about what we actually think happened, and that is that this is not a haunted forest. And the points towards this not being a haunted forest, people often say, okay, yeah, there's twisted trees and they look creepy, but actually, if you think about it, it's not that haunted because this part of the world gets snow from time to time. And so if the snow falls on a sapling, it can make it kind of curve to the side, and then it grows looking like a little chair because of the snow.
Then why doesn't it happen anywhere else?
Well, I think it does happen other places, but I don't know, because there's definitely trees that get snow on them that don't curve to the side.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. Other people say the twisting trees is just an example of trees growing through a certain soil composition or a fungal infection, but then I couldn't like really figure out what exactly they were talking about. It was just like, obviously this is a fungal infection, and I'm like, okay, but what fungus? Like,
but
why?
it's still haunted. Like, why is the fungus here? You know, could that not be part of the hauntings?
And other people pointed toward, and other people pointed towards, oh, well, this could just be irregular growth patterns because since the forest canopy is so dense, it's hard for these plants to get sunlight. So if it perceives sunlight is coming through like a couple feet away, it might grow curved to reach that sunlight. I have a lot of indoor plants, and some of them get leggy, as the plant folks say. And when they get leggy, they just get super tall because they're looking for sun. And I don't know.
But they don't go, I don't know, guys. They don't go that sharp. It's like literally like it's like a fucking 20-degree angle. The thing went like backwards and then back up. It doesn't happen.
For me, the crazy part is that it's curved. You know what I mean? It'd be one thing if it was just growing at an angle, but it literally is growing up and then it curves completely. Other people say, oh,
like
well, this could just be because of strong winds that push the branch over time to look like a chair.
Okay, but then why is there super gusting, strong winds that could push a fucking branch into a chair shape, you know?
Yeah.
That's also haunted. Everything points to hauntings. Like, whatever scientific explanation you have for the haunting is still just a haunting.
Right. Well, here's another scientist that was not having it. He said that he took a sample of the soil in the meadow and that the meadow soil had higher concentrations of metal and mineral content than in the rest of the forest, and that may explain why the vegetation doesn't grow as densely there. But then other people were like, okay, but if UFOs are taking off over this meadow, then couldn't that just be an effect of the UFOs landing there or burning the ground or something?
Right. It's still an anomaly, you know? It's like, just because you do research on it and can say, oh, scientifically, this is why it's different. It's still different.
Yes, exactly. It's still different. And then another scientist was like, well, actually, yes, there are electromagnetic fluctuations in the forest, but that could just be explained away by mineral deposits and underground water movement. And these slight changes in the magnetic field that are completely natural might result in a human's equilibrium being thrown off, which could explain the nausea, dizziness, and disorientation and feeling of being quote unquote watched. Some people have even pointed to infrasound because some of the locations that have been filmed by these TV shows, like Zach Baggins, you heard him talking, he's like, I heard a noise, and it was so scary. And a lot of people are like, well, that's actually an effect of infrasound, which is when you get in these locations where the wind and noise bounces off things weird, it kind of creates this vortex that can cause your inner ear to get thrown off and be very scary. And some people think that's what happened to the Dyatlov Pass hikers. No time to explain. But to me, again, that's still pretty haunted.
Yeah, it's still haunted because in your inner ear there's crystals, and So you're saying,
True.
you're saying the sounds are interacting with crystals in my ear and it's throwing off my equilibrium, and yet we don't believe in crystals you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
come on, guys.
Come on, guys.
Just get with
So
it.
Yeah. So that's the story of the Hoia Baciu Forest, allegedly the most haunted forest in the world, definitely the most haunted in all of Romania. It's pretty cool. I really want to go there. I want to see if we can find some shadow people that are misty, white, foggy creatures hanging out. And I don't know. I think it's cool. And I also like the idea that burned out circle meadow thing is a portal to another dimension, and that people get lost there, and sometimes they get spit back out and sometimes they don't.
Yeah, great episode, Allie. I really love this one. I feel like there's probably so much more folklore too around this area that's fun to go in, you know. I'm very interested, and I would love Allie to do an episode in the future about Vlad the Impaler and all the crazy haunted mythology that surrounds him. Whether
would
it's
be
true or
fun.
not, I don't care. Yeah, that would be fun. Great episode. I'm
Thank you.
loving it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And again, for any of our listeners out there who have been to Romania, who have been to Transylvania, who maybe have even gone to Hoia Baciu, because it does seem like it's a really big tourist attraction, please write into us and let us know if you know someone who went there, or if you've been there, or if you live nearby. Just take one for the team and go. Just take one for the team, film
You
it,
gotta.
take pictures, write into us. Go to letsgethaunted.com. We have a little form there you can fill out to write us a listener story, and we would love to read that on a future episode. Nat, final thoughts before you give your sign off?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be thinking about that airplane that had the roof ripped off.
Yeah.
Of it. Like, that is so creepy. And yeah, I feel like if that's not proof enough for some people, then
Yeah, it's pretty wild to imagine you're just doing a routine survey of a forest and all of a sudden you're outside the airplane. Like,
yeah, so creepy. I feel like that was the forest trying to lure him in. Or, you know, it points to there being some sort of strange anomaly there, whether it's with the weather, with the wind, with the soil, with, you know, maybe it is natural, but it's still happening there, you know? And so maybe
Yeah.
that's why the UFOs are coming to check it out, because they're like, our UFO Doppler is showing an anomaly right here. Let's go see what it is. In the same way that, you know, if you go on vacation, sometimes you try to go see dolphins or whales or something, and they'll be like, oh, look over there. Like, there's action going to happen over there because we see, you know, there's a bunch of birds over there, and where there's a bunch of birds, that usually means there's a school of fish, and where there's a school of fish, that usually means there's going to be larger fish trying to eat the school of fish. So that's might be where the dolphins are, and then all the boats come and like hover. Maybe they're thinking that. They're like, you know, where there's like a clearing in a meadow, humans tend to think it's kind of haunted. So if we like go over to this meadow, we might see humans.
who's to say? Also, to go back to the airplane thing super quick, it is creepy to imagine because the only place you can really land if you're over that forest is the clearing
Is the
that's
meadow,
supposedly a portal. And I don't think they landed there. I think they were like, absolutely not. And they just continued on until they got somewhere else. But like, creepy. Well, Nat, would you like to do our sign off for this week's episode?
I sure would. BRB, gonna go sit in a clearing with a bunch of cameras around me and just see what happens.
Bye. Welcome to the closing credits for episode 241, the Hoia Baciu Forest, Romania's Bermuda Triangle. This month, we would love to give a warm, heartfelt thank you to our Patreon donors who donated to us in the month of September 2025, letters H through M. If you'd like to become a donor and hear your name shouted out on a future episode, head over to patreon.com/c/letsgethaunted, where you will not only hear your name shouted out on a future episode, but you will also get access to episode extras, mini-sodes, personal hauntings, live streams, gossip, shit talk, and much, much more. This week, we'd like to thank Haley C., Haley L., Hoia L., Hannah Ray K., Haley G., Haley A., Hexylvania Snow, Hugo A., Hunter C. By the way, guys, Hunter C. designed our t-shirts that are currently available for purchase at letsgethaunted.com. He did a chef's kiss, amazing job. So definitely go check out the new merch in the merch store if you haven't already. Hunter S., Liana RN, Ileana RN, Inky Pop Art, I Pet Zombies, Isabel L, Isabella, It's Calcifer, Yvonne L, Ivan L, Jackie L, Jacob, JDKP, Jamit, Jamie F, Jasmine B, Jasmine C, Jason G, Javier M, JM, Jamie L, Jeff W, Jelly D, Jen M, Jenna M, Jennifer C, Jennifer W, Jenny B, Jenny Squiddy, Jesselyn, Joaquin E, Jocelyn, John H, Jordan C, Jordan L, Jose P, Julia C, Julia M, Julie C, Juliet H, June E, Justin MC, Justine D, Kate M, Cardon 47, Cardon 47, Karen K, Karina C, Corinna C, Carly K, Carly M, Kat, Kat and Alice the Malice, Katie Cat, K to the Win, Kayla M, Kelsey, Kelsey K, Kelsey E, Kelsey L, Kelspiracy. Kelspiracy, what do you know that we don't know? I see your name on here every week. You have a conspiracy and I don't know what it is. Please tell me. Kendra, Kimberly F, Kindred and Amber, Kirsten C, Kirsten C, Kittenish Kate, Corky M, Corey with a K, not with a C. Corey with a K. So when you hear me say Corey, just know it's spelled with a K. Christy B, Kristen K, Kylie K, Lacey M, Laura B, Laura the Lauren, Lauren B, Lauren B, Lori, Lowry, Ladybug 979, Leah R, 1991, Leanna BC, Lena, Lena, Lex L, Lexatronic, Lil Dilda, Lily Bones, Lily Bell, Lindsay S, Lisa B, Lisa H, Lisa H, Lisa ML, Lisa R, Liz K, luxury guinea pigs. Those guinea pigs have been living high on the hog this entire year. Mad Nej, Madeline, Maddie, Maddie P, Madison E, Mads, Maggie Bo Baggy, Maja L, Maja L, McKenna P, Mandy, Manny, Maria O, Mariana C, Maricela A, Marina W, Mario A, Maris G, Marissa G, Marisol, Marquise C, Marches C, Marty F, Mateo NL, Matthew L, Matthew M, Maddie Joe, Max M, Mason G, Meg R, Mego Lantern, Megan M, Megan N, Megan Mega, Mega R, Mega Red. Sorry, it took me a few tries to get that out of there. I went from all the Megans and then I saw Mega and my mind panicked. But it's Mega Red, Mega Red. Megan D, Megan D, Melissa B, Melissa G, Melissa H, Mellow Mellow 82, Mercy DM, Lord have mercy, DM, Metal Pineapple, Miami Cat Mom, meow, Michael, Michael B, Michael M, Michael S, Michael T, Michelle B, Mike S, Mikey BDX7, Minnie W. I think Minnie is such a cute name, by the way. I see you on here every week. I just think your name is super cute. Molly, Monica H, talented artist, Monica H, for those of you who don't know. Actually, let me just say her full name, Monica Helland, if you guys want to look up her art. It's very good. Monica R, Morgan Dye, Mother of Frogs. Also look up Mother of Frogs, guys. There are so many people in the fandom who are just so much better than us. Mumble, My Unicorn Farts Rainbows. Thank you for telling me. AKA Jose P. And Payne Lindsay. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for this week's episode of Let's Get Haunted. You know we love you. You know that you guys are the best. Thank you so much to everyone who donated to us in the month of September for our Patreon, on our Patreon, not for our Patreon. Well, I guess both. /on our Patreon. We are so appreciative of each and every one of you. We love shouting you out every month. We recognize basically every single name. It's more abnormal to have a new name than it is to have the same names every month, and we are so grateful to each and every one of you. For those of you who aren't sure whether or not you want to make the jump, I would recommend it because currently I know that I'm doing my Allie's Alien Alley series, which is basically where I break down the Senate UAP hearings each year. And so if you're into that sort of thing, it's going on right now. I know I also have some live streams scheduled through the end of the year. And for those of you who are very eager, chomping at the bit perhaps, to get your little hands on an annual subscription, you should know that the first of the year, we're going to go ahead and open up those annual subscription opportunities once more. And the annual subscription is great because you just buy one at the very beginning of the year. We only offer them usually from January 1 to I want to say March 1. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. Go back and listen to last year's, but it's usually only available for the first 2 months of the year, 2.5 months of the year. And we let you shout yourself out if you're an annual donor, which is what all of you may have heard on the listener stories episodes this year. If you stay all the way to the closing credits, you have for sure heard people shouting themselves out. Those are the annual haunties. And God, we love you. I'm singing a lot on this closing credits. I'm sorry. I'm in a weird mood. I took a lot of caffeine, and by took, I mean I drank a lot of coffee. I love coffee. I love caffeine. Can't do my life without it. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, sign up for annual haunty situation if that's something that appeals to you. Be on the lookout January 1. I usually post to the Instagram when that window opens back up. It's really fun. You get to stay in the Haunty fandom on the Patreon for a full 365 days, 1 year. You don't even have to think about it. And it's really fun for us. We get to know you guys. We have a tier 2 Patreon chat. And even if you sign up for tier 1, it's still, I think, worth it because you still get cool episode extras and stuff. Also, you can sign up for the free tier as well. And the free tier, you get, usually it's one thing per month. Some months it's nothing, but I mean, it's $0. So what have you got to lose? But usually it's one video a month, and we do unboxing and gossip and chit chat over there. We read our listener letters that people send to our P.O. Box, which by the way is P.O. Box 1658, Camarillo, California, 93011. You can find more information in the show notes. You guys already know. I feel like I've talked too much. So now it's time for our secret password. Now, for those of you who missed the memo, you can now comment the secret password in the comments on Spotify. If you do not listen to us on Spotify, no worries. Just head over to Instagram.com/letsgethaunted or at Let's Get Haunted on Instagram, depending on how you're searching. And you can comment on the photo dump for this week's episode. Every single week, we post a photo dump that corresponds to the episode that we have produced for each and every single one of you. And you can go ahead and go to the comments and comment what I'm about to say right now. Now, I don't know what the password is yet because I have not yet edited the episode. So when I'm editing the episode, I'm going to figure out what that secret password is, and then I'm going to dub it in now. Hotel Transylvania was a documentary. Thanks, guys. See you next week. Bye.